Today we're talking about something that so many women experience, but surprisingly isn't talked about nearly enough. Postnatal recovery and how we support women after they've brought a baby into the world. In a culture that often celebrates bouncing back and getting your pre-baby body back as quickly as possible, many new mums are left navigating one of the most physically and emotionally demanding times of their life with very little guidance about how to properly take care of their bodies. But the truth is that pregnancy, birth, and early motherhood is not something that the body simply snaps back from. They are profound experiences that require time, care, patience, and the right support. My guest today is someone who has dedicated her career to changing the conversation around postpartum recovery. Jen Dugard is the founder of MumSafe, an award-winning fitness professional, educator, and author who has spent years helping new mums navigate pregnancy, birth, and their postnatal recovery. Through her work, she's empowering both mothers and fitness professionals with the knowledge they need to prioritize long-term health over unrealistic expectations. In this conversation, we talk about what safe exercise actually looks like after birth, the long-term consequences of ignoring postpartum recovery, and why the fitness industry still has some work to do around supporting women through this time of their life. We also touch on the cultural pressure on mums to get their body back and why it's time to shift the conversation to something much more meaningful, helping women care for their bodies with the same love and attention as they give to their babies. So if you're a mum, an expected mum, or someone who works with women in fitness or healthcare, then today's episode is for you. Thanks for tuning in again today to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. I'm your host, Steph Bruno-Newton. As always, be sure to jump on my website, www.canigetarefillpodcast.com.au, linked below to download your free 33-page ebook on 7 steps to protect your energy and fill up your cup. As you know, you cannot pour from an empty cup, so I've designed a guide to help you take care of yourself in order to up-level your life. Download it today to make yourself a priority. Okay, let's jump in. Hello, my cup fillers, and welcome back to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. As just promised, this one's a very special episode for the mums and mums to be out there. We're joined by a special guest, Jen Dugard. Jen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited that we got here.
I'm very excited. We were just saying we've had a bit of rescheduling. We've both had a bit of tech issues. I've got construction about to happen tomorrow in the building. So I'm so grateful that we finally got to this. And Jen, I must say for me personally, this is so beneficial to me. I'm 18 months postpartum. I have an 18-month-old son, currently trying for number 2. That's not happening as easily as the first one because we're a bit busy and stressed and there's a third person in our bed. But I honestly, other than YouTubing a few ab exercises to do postpartum, and I had a C-section, so I really waited the full 6 weeks, I really didn't know much about taking care of my body physically postpartum. So, I would imagine that there's a lot of women out there like that. So I'm very excited when I was reading up on you to do this episode today.
I'm excited to be here, and I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of, what I hear from a lot of women is, why did nobody tell me?
Yes.
And,
yeah.
You know, and then Dr. Google is great, but also add in ChatGPT, and it's like, you know, what do you believe? Who do you believe? And how do you even figure out what is right for you from all of the information that's out there?
Yeah, you're an individual. There's never a one-size-fits-all approach. And, you know, and births themselves and pregnancies are so different from woman to woman, and our bodies are so different from woman to woman. So it's really good to jump into that today. So let's talk about, you've had a great career in the fitness industry. So talk us through your career in the fitness industry and how your career evolved after becoming a mum in 2008. Is that right?
Yeah, so I said the other day 2018 and no one could do the math, but no, my son was born in 2008, which means he turns 18 in July, which is absolutely mind-blowing.
July,
like, how did I get...
My son's in July too.
24th.
Oh, so he's a Leo.
Yeah.
That's what I was aiming for.
He's a
My
Leo.
son's
Yeah. Both my kids are actually born on the same day, which is wild. They're 2
my
years
husband
apart.
and my son are on the same day.
Oh my goodness. It's just,
Crazy.
weird how that stuff plays out.
Yeah.
But so I was a personal trainer before I had Marley, and then I became pregnant, had him, left the gym like 2 weeks before he was born in the end. Like I was supposed to have, you know, a month off, and then he came 2 weeks early. And then I was just launched into this postpartum period that I knew that I wanted to get back to the gym, and I had the knowledge to go back to the gym, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I launched Body Beyond Baby, where again, it reinforced that I knew I wanted to help mums to move their bodies. But again, whilst I could help them to do squats, help them to do lunges, help them to take time out from their baby, I didn't really understand the intricacies of their body, the postpartum body. So at that point, I had done a pre and postnatal certification. They were very, very basic back then. At that point, 18 years ago, I went to find a pelvic health physio because I figured that if I didn't, like, who was the person that knew more, even if the education wasn't available to me in the fitness industry. So way back then, I started a partnership with Joe Murdoch, who owns a clinic in Sydney called the Physiotherapy Clinic, and we still partner today. So one of her team's coming in next week to do a research update for our team of trainers. That's where my journey kind of evolved from having my son, launching Body Beyond Baby, which was group exercise with childcare, because whilst I didn't know what to do for myself physically, aside from what I knew, I did know how to go to the gym. And what I saw was other mums around me struggling, number one, to go to the gym, number two, to even get time out to be able to do that. So we launched with on-site nannies, and that was the start of the journey.
It's such a vulnerable time in your life. I was the gym gal. Like, I met my husband at the gym. He was a PT. I was doing a course, like a Cert 3 in fitness. You know, I'm very comfortable being fit, and your identity just shifts so much. And I always talk about it's my hunger for it that's shifted. So I'm 18 months postpartum. I'm still training every day, but a lot of it now, you know, some days it's just a very long walk. Some days it's a circuit at home with my Y-bells. But that hunger to get into the gym is not there because sometimes I crave time away from my son, and then sometimes I feel like I'm going to miss him. And then it's a real identity thing, isn't it? And then fresh postpartum, you've got all those hormones. So it's such a journey. It's so vital to have someone like you to guide women through this time. And, you know, you yourself worked in the industry and you still questioned, what do I do with my body now? So imagine how many of us are just clueless. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, tell us a bit about your business, MumSafe, and how it's helping so many mums throughout pregnancy, childbirth, and their postnatal recovery.
Yeah, so MumSafe is the evolution of my first business, which was called Body Beyond Baby. And we ran group exercise with childcare in the park. And throughout that journey, I launched a certification called Safe Return to Exercise. So we run a pre and postnatal certification for trainers. And at that time, I was thinking about, do I want to license Body Beyond Baby? Do I want to franchise? And then eventually realized that I wanted to support other trainers to grow their own brand, but with a framework and a credibility around it. So MumSafe today looks like ongoing education for exercise professionals that work with mums. So when you work with a MumSafe trainer, they don't only have one pre and postnatal certification, which in some cases could have been done, I don't know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They get to redo Safe Return to Exercise as many times as they like. And we provide them with a monthly upskilling masterclass every single month. And we've got 4 years worth of extra content. So if you work with a MumSafe trainer, she's probably got education on, I say she, we do have some men, not so many, but we do.
Yeah.
They may have education on endometriosis, perimenopause, menopause, wrist pain, pelvic pain. Like, they're going to go deeper, trauma-informed care. It's deeper than only the initial pre and postnatal certification, and we're making sure that they're upskilling and staying up to date with all the research, because the courses that were done 5 years ago, they're not, I mean, yes, they're relevant and they're good, but there's so much new research. So you know, MumSafe is providing the exercise professionals that want to be known as and be the gold standard of pre and postnatal exercise in the world, the tools and the support, and also the business systems in order to do that. So from a mum's perspective, if you're working with a MumSafe trainer, you really do know that you're in very, very safe hands.
Oh, that's so great. And it's such a big demographic, isn't it? I feel like
it's huge.
It's because I'm in it, but all I see are mums wanting to work out. And there is one gym in my area with creche. Like, I'd be in the gym every day if there was a creche at my gym, because he would love mixing with other kids. So yeah. We need to be supported in this time. We really need
We do. We do need to make sure, though, that all gyms that have creches actually have education, because just because they have a creche doesn't mean that their trainers are educated in pre and postnatal.
Yes. Well, what does every mum or expectant mum need to know about safe exercises post-birth? Because I know that the hospital that I was at told me to go to something, but I either didn't have time or money, and I didn't. And that's when I YouTubed the ab exercises. But what do we need to know?
I think the biggest thing to know is that your body is postpartum. It's never going to go back to what it was, so we can stop chasing the pre-baby body, which I feel like we'll talk about a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But from a physical perspective, to understand that if we're talking early postpartum, we want to make sure that you go through a phase of, I call it rebuilding from the inside out rather than rehabilitation. So it's rebuilding from the inside out, making sure that you understand your pelvic floor, making sure that you understand your abdominal wall, knowing where your body is right now, and then choosing the appropriate exercise. And for some women, that rebuild from the inside out period could take 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years even. And for others, they'll move through it really, really quickly. So I think one of the misconceptions is that you have to do gentle exercise for a really long time. A lot of the research now is saying that's not necessarily the case, both in pregnancy and postpartum. But what it does mean is that the individual mum and exercise professionals really need to understand the nuance. So if you're leaking, that's common, but it's not normal to live with. If you've got a heaviness in your pelvis, that can be common, but it's not normal to live with. And to understand, around pelvic floor, that it's not always a pain that you're going to feel. So if you had pelvic pain or pubic symphysis pain or sciatic pain, that's a pain trigger. Whereas pelvic floor, abdominal wall, if you're going too hard, then those muscles can be fatiguing and weakening over time, but they're just going to feel a bit weird or a bit not right. And I think as new mums, we can go, oh, I've had a baby. It just doesn't feel the same, but it's fine. And it might be fine for the short term, but if it continues long term, maybe it might not be fine. But it could be fine if we understood the information and then gave her the tools.
Okay. Education. Education is everything. So
it is.
Look at me,
really
42 years old. Look, I didn't read any material because I love being a mum, but I was not like into it when I was pregnant. I'm like, I don't want to read it. I didn't listen to one podcast. I read one page of what to expect when you're expecting. I was like, this is so boring. Then I just went back to my Colleen Hoover books. But I was so under the impression that I had a planned C-section. So I have a neuromuscular disorder. My pregnancy was difficult. I was on a walking stick. My muscles just all sort of stopped working properly, and I knew they would come back, and they did straight away. But so I had to have a planned C-section. So I was like, I don't have to worry. This is what I thought. I don't have to worry about pelvic floor because I'm not pushing. I didn't realize it's about the carrying. It's not about the birth. So I was like, it's going to return.
Right? Yeah.
Like, I was like, it's going to return completely normal. So now when I sneeze, I do the legs crossed and brace for impact.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen to me with C-section. So something as simple as that, like, I didn't know. So education is everything. You don't know what you don't know.
It really is. And you, like exactly like you said, you still had a baby bouncing up and down on your pelvic floor for the last 9 months. And C-section or no C-section.
Bouncing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I know. It was just like the heaviness. It was the same as I didn't breastfeed and my boobs drooped because they got big for like 3 days. And I'm like, why didn't they just bounce straight back up? Actually, just today I was looking in the mirror and I was like, oh, they're higher than they were. That's great. I didn't think they would ever go back. Just in time for the next one so that I can droop again. Yeah. No, I love my body. I'm not talking about that. I'm being silly. What are some long-term consequences of ignoring that postpartum recovery? What can we do? What's dangerous? How can we damage ourselves?
Yeah, I want to, like, if we use the words dangerous, damage, I want to, I guess, reduce fear. So anything that I share is, these are the things that could happen. They don't have to happen. So prolapse is a thing. So let's say a woman has we know 60% of women, when they think that they're drawing their pelvic floor up, they're actually pushing it out. So the pattern between their brain and their pelvic floor muscles is the wrong way around. So if they've just only read how to do it or verbally been taught how to do pelvic floor, it might be that, you're sitting there breastfeeding, waiting for the kettle to boil, all those things, waiting for the traffic lights to change, or you go, I should do my pelvic floor exercises. Yeah. If you don't know, and if you've not been assessed by a pelvic health or women's health physio to know that your pelvic floor is actually lifting and squeezing, 60% of women actually bear down when they're doing that. So God. If you then think, if you're someone who loves the gym, loves Pilates, loves strength training, women are doing more and more intense exercise than ever before, which is absolutely awesome. We love it. And if you imagine that you've been doing your pelvic floor exercises, you go into the gym, you're pretty strong, you put a barbell on your back, your trainer or coach says something like brace, lift, tense, or in a Pilates class, draw your pelvic floor. Well, actually, and you're pushing out, now you're pushing out under load. Now, 1 or 2 times might be fine, but if you add the impact of that over time, then you can understand that you're pushing your pelvic floor out. And, the pelvic floor muscles are there to support the organs of the pelvis, which is the bladder, the uterus, and the rectum in a woman. And if the pelvic floor is not doing its job, those organs could descend and could, in the worst case scenario, become a prolapse, which is where one of those organs falls into the walls of the vagina. In the worst case, sits on the outside. I say that's the worst case. And I share this because prevention is key. Not because I want everyone to go, I'm going to get this.
Yeah. Absolutely. So prolapse, can that happen at any stage? I thought that was just during birth.
No, it can happen. You can get a prolapse years postpartum. And you may also be, so we've got this huge conversation now about perimenopause and menopause. We're being told to lift heavy. We're being told to jump train because it's good for our bones.
Yes.
But we've got this massive cohort of women that have never been given any pelvic floor education in pregnancy and postpartum. So now they've had babies and they've continued on their life. Maybe they've got their movement pattern mixed up. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just, I don't know, maybe they had a very mild prolapse that no one picked up on, and that's fine because it's not symptomatic, so it's not bothering them. But then let's say we get to 45, 55, we're now strength training. There could be an impact on the fact that our pelvic floors have never been looked after. So if we can educate our younger women now, or the older women, or any age women that have had babies, and just get them to go and get a checkup with a pelvic health physio. I work in some countries where they don't have pelvic health physios or they don't have access to them. And I know that it can be preventative for some people, like there's a cost and there's all the rest of it involved, but we do have access to this care. And if you're paying for a gym membership, then I believe you could pause your gym membership for 2 or 3 weeks, pay for your pelvic health physio, go back. So there are some funds, you just got to choose where they go.
There's always things where you're like, I don't have the money right now. You've just gotten your Uber Eats. You've just, you've booked your Botox. You can find that money. No, it's so true. But we do also have a tendency to put ourselves last, like I now buy clothes for my son rather than myself. So
of course.
So I will link all your links in the show notes. But so where does a woman go today if she wants to assess the pelvic floor?
Yeah, so we've actually got a really good database of pelvic health physios on the MumSafe website. So if she goes to mumsafemovement.com, clicks on find a physio, then there's a huge database. You can put your location in there. And if you're someone
I'm going to do that. I'll have to. If I'm trying for number 2, I better double check.
Please do. Where are you based, Steph?
Cronulla.
Oh, there's heaps of great physios. We can link you up. There's also a really, really awesome MumSafe trainer in Cronulla.
Oh, great. All the best inside info on this podcast. I got to say, just always booking appointments for myself after these interviews.
Nice.
Oh, that's really, really, really helpful. I want to talk about something that's really sort of a hot topic, and it probably has been for some time. It's that bounce back. And I don't love it. I remember hating, I don't like the royal family to begin with, but when they would give birth and then have to stand on the steps in high heels and a dress holding their baby. I mean, I just picture what I wore on the way home from the hospital. And it was
not that, was it? No.
It was not that. Just picture it now. It's so horrible. But it just feels like a lot of pressure. And I had a good chat with you when we first were booking this in. It was right when a male influencer had talked about women being lazy for not getting their bodies back, or using motherhood as an excuse. And there's nothing we love more than someone without a vagina telling us about how to live, But what are you seeing? It's such a huge it takes such a huge toll on a woman's body, her emotions, her hormones, everything. What are you seeing in society? What would you like change? What's your opinion on this whole bounce back culture after motherhood?
It starts way before that, doesn't it? We've got people commenting on women's bodies, full stop. There was a post over Christmas about a newspaper article about Tiffany Hall. She posted this, great photo of her in Bali. And the only thing that was pulled out, I think the Daily Mail or somebody, wasn't the Daily Mail, started commenting about her body. And there's all of these people commenting. And it's, number one, where do we just get off commenting on women's bodies? Full stop.
Women too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they were women tearing her apart in that. And it was absolutely disgusting. And then to add to that, you've got a man who's got no fucking clue
No.
about anything. I say that with love. Talking to women about what they should or shouldn't do. I think the biggest thing is stop commenting on women's bodies and then removing the phrase get your pre-baby body back. And I talk about this in our pre and postnatal certification. We have a whole module on body image, and what the key message is that exercise professionals need, and I use the word need very, very purposely, need to stop having get my pre-baby body back as a goal. Or assuming that women are walking into the gym to get their pre-baby body back. Because it's simply fueling the fact that women have been taught for so long that her self-worth is wrapped up in the size and shape of her body, and that on top of adjusting to motherhood, keeping a baby alive, living on no sleep, that one of our priorities should be what our body looks like, rather than what it's done and how amazing it is and the fact that it birthed a human.
It's so damaging. And I'm lucky that I follow mainly, very nice female influencers and, just people in the media on my socials that I'm seeing just beautiful, compassionate content. I'm not seeing all that, but, I obviously must follow some news pages because I see things like that pop up and they trigger me. But it's so funny how it's a systemic problem in society, because I will admit that I, as a woman, used to have that view that if a woman gained weight after giving birth, that she gave up. She no longer cares about herself. And now I realize, I'm still fit, but I'm just not who I was. And that's not a failure. I haven't failed. And I think there's some sort of shame. I remember when I would feel very liberated when I would get rid of outfits that I had in my wardrobe from 10 years ago. I did that recently, like outfits that I wore when I first started going out with my husband. I was in the gym sometimes twice a day. I was 31, lived with my parents, didn't have stress. Why would I think in my 40s that I can wear those backless things that, like without a bra or a strapless bra that I used to wear? That's not who I am. And holding those clothes in my closet made me feel honestly, it was a feeling of shame that would come up that, oh, you've failed, Steph. You're being a bit lazy because you're not back in that. So I've very much tried to not get my life back to what it was or say wording like that or get my body back. I'm just embracing mum Steph, new Steph, current Steph, and just doing the best with what I can at the moment, because it just, it puts pressure on me. But isn't that funny how me as a woman used to think that about women?
Well,
so that's a problem in society.
It is a problem, but do you think when you look back, and I can self-reflect on this myself, was the exercise that you did and the food that you ate back then the healthiest version of you?
No, I'm healthier now. I would smash these protein bars that, excuse me, my language, would make me do stinky farts. I would have these, what's that ingredient? Those powders that are like toxic colors to help burn things. Because I remember I was in Bali just laying around the pool and put on weight. So I came back and I was unwell. I wasn't well. I have such a gut-friendly, wonderful diet right now that I am my healthiest version. Isn't that funny that you say that? That is so true.
When I look back, at my smallest and my leanest, and where I got the most praise, I was going through a really hard time in life. I was incredibly anxious. And then even pre that, I didn't eat enough. I used to study the amount of calories that were in the back of, I don't know, rice crackers. Like, there's no fucking calories in rice crackers anyway.
My fitness pal.
I was over-exercising. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because on the flip side, there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to change your body composition. So this is what we come up against. It's, we shame women for being fat. We shame women for losing weight. So what we really need to get to is a place where women understand that their self-worth is not wrapped up in the size and shape of their body, and that the desire to change their body is not fueled by thinking that changing their body will give them something else other than, I'd like my body to be leaner because I could run faster, or I'm going to experiment, or I'm going to do these things. And maybe I just want to alter my diet, eat more whole foods, cut out the rubbish, and potentially there'll be a body composition change with that. But when it's pressure to look and feel a certain way, either externally or internally, that's the work that we all need to do as women to try and then move on to the next phase of our journey.
I love that. And I just recorded a solo episode on manifestation that you would think would not be related at all. But what I was talking about was when, like you'll be manifesting the house, the money. But I said, you got to think about, why do you want those? What's the emotion that comes attached to them? So, you know, does the job or the house make you feel secure? So it's like you were saying, don't think about the why do you want that number on the scales? Is it'll make you feel a certain way? And if it's that it'll make you feel like you fit in, that's a problem. That's a problem. You need to be your healthier self, to run around with your kids, to wake up and feel energy. That is my number one priority right now, because I think too, with a lot of women in Sydney, especially, we're starting later to have kids. So I'm, 42, just had my first, working towards the second one. And I may have just ticked over into perimenopause. Literally the week I released a perimenopause episode, my period completely changed and went for 10 days, and I always get them for 5 days. Yeah.
That sucks.
I've had my period since 1997, and it's always 5 days, heavy for days 1 and 2, and then I had 10 straight days of heavy bleeding, and I was like, oh, fuck. I jinxed myself with the perimenopause a minute. So we're up against immense changes and challenges. So removing that shame and the pressure is just vital, or you're just doing yourself a disservice, aren't you?
We really are. And it's not only affecting us, it's affecting our future generations. So we're raising young people, and it's, when we think about generational trauma and things that happen, it's like we have to heal what is in ourselves so we don't move it forward. So if you are someone who's looking in the mirror at your stomach or commenting on food, your kids are picking up on that, male and female. And the pressures, we like to think, or I like to think, the pressures are getting less, but they're not. I have a 15-year-old who feels pressure. And when you see all these different beautiful bikini bodies on the beach these days, like wearing next to nothing, and then you've got social media that have got, and you think there's a level of, we think that there's more body confidence out there, but we'd be remiss to think that people are not still struggling through life. And for the older women, when did that stop? Like, surely we get to a point in our lives where we just stop having the food noise and stop worrying about it and be a little bit more free.
Yeah, but when does it? So I listened to another podcaster. She was going to the beach with herself, her daughters, her mum, and her grandmother, who has now since passed, right? And the grandmother was maybe 80s or 90, and she was like, come to the beach with us. She's like, oh, no one wants to see my body in a swimsuit. And the host was crying, going, because I always pictured in my head, I want some over 65, then I'll stop worrying, then I'll stop, and maybe you never do if you don't shift the mindset. So
you've got to do the work.
This podcast host was like, how sad that this woman, and when she was recording it, the grandmother was still alive, has said no to a day of joy and, memories with her family for fear of how she will look. The woman's now died. That could have been a core memory to take with her and the grandchildren. And I catch myself all the time. No, I can't do that. I'll be due for fake tan. I haven't shaved my legs. I'm in my luteal phase, so I'll be a bit swollen. I do it all the time. Instead of just saying, like 7-year-old Steph would be like, I'm coming to the beach. Great. That sounds fun. And so when did we choose how we look over joy? It's sad. It's upsetting. And when will it end if we don't shift it now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you're right. It's definitely in society. Look back at, like Britney Spears and Posh Spice. Posh Spice was called Porky Spice and then Skeletal Spice. You're either too fat or too thick. You're never perfect. There are this page I follow, and I can't think of her name now, but they publicly shame the comments.
Oh, I've seen them.
Yes, I love them. Yeah. I love them, but then it makes me sad too. Should I be looking at them? And it'll be, this is what women said about Margot Robbie. I mean, we're picking women who are just so stunning, and everyone is so mid and just commenting like, oh, so overrated, her waist is too thick, and oh my God, like.
Where do these people have time to just spend commenting on other people's bodies anyway? Like, so much shit to do and that does not include.
It's there's so much pressure on us. But funnily enough, I thought it was just women. Funnily enough, because with celebrities, they would be pro dad bod. They don't get the slaughter that we do. But funnily enough, it's happening with boys too. One of my best friends has a 10-year-old son, and he's getting bullied and body shamed at school. And oh my God, did that make me so upset. I thought, I would figure that young, and even as a boy, you would be immune to that, and apparently not.
You wonder then, though, what's going on in that household, though. Like, where does that come from? Like, what is that child on the receiving end of to then take that into a school environment? Because these kids are not, I like to believe that anyone saying anything mean about anyone else, it's about them. So when kids are doing it, who's being mean to the kid that the kid then needs to then try and be mean to someone else to make themselves feel better?
No, that's true. And it all comes down to compassion and education, and bringing it back to that male influencer who said that. I don't hate him. I don't hate anyone, because what did he grow up hearing in his home that made him think that that's what he should be saying?
And he's a grown up now, so he gets to take accountability.
True, 100%. So, but again, as I said, I even had that view. So he needs to go on some sort of education course of what women go through with emotions, and how you can just be standing there cutting a piece of fruit and then burst into tears. And like, it's so much you go through. So yeah, we've got to lead with a bit of compassion and definitely education. So what you're doing is absolutely a service to the community. You seem to be so incredibly busy as a career-driven mum. What are some ways you take time to look after yourself, and what is something you'll be doing in the next week to fill up your cup?
We got chickens not long ago.
Say it again, sorry.
We got chickens. I don't know if that it does fill my cup. I have this vision of living on, like, we're on just under an acre up on the Gold Coast. So I have this vision. I keep saying to my husband, can we get goats now? Can we get this now? Not really thinking about the fact that it actually adds to what I have to do in a day. But I really enjoy going and seeing the chickens. Like, so my day, my day doesn't start, like, I didn't start work until we started talking, and generally doesn't start till about 10 a.m. now, which I know is a huge luxury, but I get up at 5:10, I go to the gym. I'm at the stage where I can leave my kids at home, even if my husband is not at the house, which is awesome. Then I take the kids to school, I walk the dog, I have my breakfast, and then I start work. So I've battled with that for a really, really long time, but slower mornings are something that I'm doing for myself now, rather than just trying to do all the things and get stuck into work at 8:30, and then I still get frustrated sometimes, and I'm like, oh, fuck, it's 10 o'clock already and I've not done anything. Yeah. But I know it's good for me. So permission to be a bit slower is what I'm trying.
A slower morning.
Trying is the ultimate word.
Yeah. No, I was due for my strength workout this morning. Went to bed a little bit late last night, and, felt tired when I woke up, and I was like, I'm not going to push myself. So I did 15 minutes of just doing steps and like some sort of movement to get things flowing. And I feel good. I would have felt tired and rushed trying to get in, get the makeup done to get the recording done. I love a slow morning now. I think it's such a gift to yourself. But you'd be surprised how many of my guests have said similar things about the chickens and the gardens. And I was like, the third guest. I like that.
My friends keep sending me, there's a reel that's talking about henopause. It's like women get to this point in life, but they get chickens. And I'm like, shit. Okay. Damn it.
She's that lady. She's become chicken lady. I love that so much. Well, keep an eye out on socials. I can't wait to see what other barnyard animals appear in your yard. I think it's going to be
too.
Really great. No, it's really kind of the goal, isn't it, to sort of live off the land and, why you like going out and seeing the chickens? Because you're in the present moment.
I am. You're so right.
Yeah. It's the outcome. What do you get from that?
You get in nature, you ground, you get, love it. All those things.
Jen, you're a powerhouse woman. I've enjoyed our chat so much, and what you've told us has been so beneficial, and I'll link everything for everyone in the show notes. My God, everyone go check the pelvic floor. I can't believe how important it is. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone, please do something in the next week to fill up your cup.